As you heard from Lisa, we kind of took the facilities over in mid-June, I think. Barbara asked us to take a look at this and to keep it going, and there have been some changes made just so that we can keep facilities moving along. This is going to be a two-part presentation tonight. Steve Sopolak, the project engineer from engineering, will do the engineering part, and I'll do the facilities department. Because we took this over, I had to, in my own mind, make up a mission statement for myself as to what I would like to see. So this is the mission statement for the department, is to basically maintain all the town buildings with its infrastructure by repairing it, improving it, upgrading it, cleaning it, servicing the HVAC services, electrical, plumbing, building, carpentry, along with the custodial services to maintain cleanliness and provide the scheduled preventative maintenance. The staffing consists of myself, the director of Public Works, the Director of Custodial Services, Lisa Azerio, who you just heard from. We have a Facilities Department Manager right now. We have an Interim Manager, Michael Mancini, and we have a Secretary, Colleen. For trades, we have a Field Supervisor Electrician, and that's Phil Sear, for those of you who have come across him, a very talented, dedicated employee. We also have his assistant, Steve Parent, who's sitting in the back here, who's trying to pick up the trade and carry that forward. We also have a part-time inspector, Gene Salvatore, who is the eyes for the facilities department to see these projects as they're being constructed, installed, or repaired, so that we know that we're getting what we paid for and the job is done right. And as Lisa mentioned, the custodial services with 5 head custodians, 5 lead custodians, and 17 regular custodians. As part of the job, I had to ask myself, well, what do we have besides schools to maintain here? So this is a list that I got from the KERMA, which is the insurance company for the town, that was accumulated in May of 2012. And it shows you the buildings with their size, what their value was for insurance purposes, and then what the value of the contents were, and that the year that they were constructed. So you can see the high school, 1981, Griswold Middle, 1963, it's a 50-year-old building. West Hill, 1965, 48-year-old building. Stevens School, 1957, a 56-year-old building. The building we're in, all of a sudden, 12 years have gone by, so we're starting to experiencing problems even with the town hall. The Cora Belden Library is 46 years old, 1967. The police department, even though it was renovated, the actual bones of the building was built in 1954, so that's 59 years. Fire headquarters, 81, that's 32 years old. Firehouse number 1 was built in 1961. It's 52 years old. Number 2 was built in 58. It's 55 years old. The Fire Museum on this campus was 1920, so it's 93 years old. The Academy Hall across that picture you just saw was 1803. So that's 210. That's not the oldest building, to my surprise. It's 210 years old. The Kennedy House was 1918, which is 95 years old. Now, I don't know where they got the dates, but it was in the report, so I'm just kind of reiterating it. The Highway Garage was 1960, so we've got a 53-year-old building. The Salt Shed, 23 years old. The Parks Garage itself is 34 years old. The bathhouse at Elm Ridge is 43 years old. The amphitheater is relatively new, 8 years old. But community TV, again, I don't know where this date came from, was 1800, so it's 213 years old. I know it was the original police station. I don't know where they got it. It couldn't have been. It's brick and mortar, as far as I know. But that was on the report, so it could be a misprint. Maybe it was 1900. And the Mosier School, which we're currently using as a storage facility, was 1924, so that's 89 years old. In summary, we have 540,000 square feet of building, and 71% of that is the schools, the 4 schools alone. And the value, well, you can see the value of this, and this, again, this was 2012, is $112 million just for the buildings alone. The next slide, please. Well, the next slide kind of shows what we did since July of this year to the present. And as you can imagine, most of our effort was put into the schools. I think the council's been informed the entire summer and to the present of what's been going on, so I'll quickly go through these. For Stevens School, we replaced the gym floor. When we went to inspect it before the work was being done, the floorboards were ripped up. It was a dangerous floor, and it had to come out. But that was the original floor. We also replaced the lower gym floor to make sure that no further damage was done to the building. And that's been recently completed. Something you may not know is we installed 10 fire-rated classroom doors down, I think it's the first floor hallway. They were originally hollow core doors, did not meet the fire code. It was something the fire marshal has been asking for years. And when we looked at it, we said not only is it something that was a fire code, but also for security reasons too. So they're solid doors with all new hardware on them. We installed the new folding cafe wall, which I recently looked at. It's has a lot of versatility. They can open it up in different ways, so there could be 2 doorways through there. The custodians inform me when it is closed, it is completely soundproof, which is a great benefit for to separate those 2 areas. We also repaired numerous drinking water fountains, some of which were in the hallways where they were inoperable for years. The egress windows, as everybody has been following in the library, were installed. We repaired a broken window in the last month or so. The windows were actually bowed out so that we were afraid that they might have fallen out. We had them come in and repair them. It turns out that the anchors for these windows were rusted away due to a leak that happened years ago. And of course, there was a lot of painting that went on. Now, the reason I'm pointing these out also, you got to remember the part-time inspector that I have watched every one of these things, again, to make sure we were getting the job done properly. At the West Hill School, we resurfaced the gym floor there, and I don't know if anybody has seen it, but it's a beautiful parquet floor. When we went in there, it was a dark brown. It was sanded. I think it took them 4 different grades of sandpaper to get this down to the way it looks, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We replaced the bleachers, as you know. We leveled off that cafeteria pit area, which had some problems after it was filled in. We installed a handicap ramp. There was one that was made out of wood, but every time it snowed, the plows would hit it and destroy it. We replaced doors to the gym and the cafeteria as you enter. We replaced some windows that were fogged up in the cafeteria. We installed 27 new faucets. There were old original faucets there. The one for the turn-off for the hot water, another one for the cold water. These are single lever faucets. Also in the art room, if you get a chance to walk through the school, the art room, we replaced the countertop and repainted. I think it was Giovanni, our painter, painted the cabinets. It looks brand new. The art teacher is thrilled, and she's been there, I think, 27 years. We did some flooring repairs to in some of the classrooms that was being held together with duct tape, which to me was a disgrace. So it was a product called Marmoleum. We had it a section taken out and sealed, and it seems to be holding up very well. For West Hill, we had some rooftop air conditioning repairs that had to be done. We are still looking at replacing 2 of them. I don't know where the funds are going to come from, but we need to get those replaced before the spring comes. They're basically copper tubing, and as they have aged, the racks that hold these tubes together kind of shake around, create a pinhole. We lose the Freon. And if you've ever had your air conditioner filled at home, that's liquid gold. It's a very expensive proposition to keep refilling these. Again, there was extensive painting done at that school. Continuing, we went on to Griswold Middle School. We resurfaced that gym floor. We had a few roof leaks, not too many. We also installed water filters in the home economics room. The reason I'm bringing it up is the water was blue because the water faucets weren't used enough. So the custodians had to go in and turn it on every morning and flush out the system. So we got a filter that we checked the water, had it tested, and got a filter that would be used to filter out that, basically a copper blue coloring. It really wasn't a health issue. At the high school, we resurfaced that gym floor, and we replaced some pool benches, which was an unplanned for event where the pool benches fell apart. Also, we had the kiln room repairs that we also watched, but that was an insurance claim. For town buildings, we had a few repairs at the library, the book deposit door repairs, and a few miscellaneous repairs at Town Hall. We replaced the lower roof at the community center, which had been leaking for 2 years. When we had all that snow on the roof, they had to go up and shovel the roof, and I believe there was something disturbed. It leaked, so we had to get it fixed so there was no further damage done to the gym floor. In addition, we found as our contractor for the air conditioning units have gone around, he was up checking the rooftop units here and discovered a natural gas leak. Fortunately, the air dissipated that leak and it wasn't a danger. Came back the next day, we shut the system down and repaired that leak. At Firehouse number 1, we again had some repairs planned for where a vehicle hit the building. So the windows had to be replaced, bricks had to be replaced, but that was an insurance claim. At Firehouse 3, we had a lot of work done there this year. We installed a new above-ground diesel tank for the generator. There were various roof repairs, and there's a lot of those pending. That'll be in the capital improvement budget coming up. We also had a lot of rooftop air conditioning repairs where we, again, our contractor went up to look at those air conditioners because they had so many problems, found that there was fan belts missing, air filters missing. And what that did is create a heck of a problem for the equipment where we would start to lose compressor motors. So now, getting on to the next one, capital improvements. This is a kind of a in-process thing. We're still developing this, and it's a work in progress. For town buildings, we're looking at adding a new generator to the police department. The second one here is the prison cell renovations. This was an instance where we were told that the facilities in the prison cells were leaking. There was a leak in the toilets and the sinks. So we went in to look at it, and in order to fix it, we'd have to take the wall down in the men's locker room. But all of the fixtures are antiquated, and all the cells are antiquated, so we have to bring them up to a code so that we don't have any liability. We have a consultant who actually designed the new Weathersfield Police Department, and we brought him in to take a look at it to advise us on what we need to do and how much it's going to cost. The third one for the police department is they've been looking for an impound area to put their vehicles that they have to impound, so we're working on that, and you'll hear from Steve on that one later on in the presentation as far as how we're going to do a site plan on that. The library has an oil tank that has to be removed, and we need to put an emergency generator at the library, as well as the second one, the third one down here is the installation of carpet for the library. Unfortunately, that carpet area that remains has asbestos in it, so there's some remediation that has to be done. We also have to get a specialist on moving books. From what I understand, there's people that's all they do, so they have to catalog where those books go, put them in a special area, do the work, and then come back. So it's an expensive proposition, but the carpets there are, I think, the original to the building. One of the things we're going to recommend also is a town-wide roof analysis so we know when we're going to have to replace some roofs. We know that we have a few that are coming up to 20 years old. especially West Hill School, which I think is going to be into its 20th year next year. Kennedy House, we have a few minor repairs. The Firehouse 3, we have eventually we'll need to replace that generator. Their roof, that lower roof at the Firehouse 3 is leaking, and we have to go out to find out how much that's going to cost. We have an underground steel storage tank at the police department, which must be removed. So we have to check that to see if it's leaked and then remove it. The highway garage, that was actually brought to our attention at the beginning of the year that roof also is leaking, so that has to be repaired, or removed rather, and replaced. And another pet peeve here at the town hall is the humidification system, which causes all kinds of heating problems. There is no humidification system built into this heating system for the town hall. I think it might have been one of those value engineering items that was left out. It wasn't really a code requirement, but it causes problems throughout the building as far as comfort goes. I know in the Board of Ed, they bring in the portable humidifiers so that they can keep comfortable, as well as preventing their eyes from drying out from the dryness in the area. So the capital improvements program for the school buildings, this is a work in progress again. We're working with Dr. Zito and Frank Connolly to develop that. And I believe that we just met with Frank Connolly this afternoon. We will have something probably in mid-January with all the costs. What we're going to do is try to project what has to be done right now, meaning next year, and then project out for the next 4 years and give you a real 5-year capital budget. But some of the things that we're looking at that are on the list is replacing the West Hill rooftop air conditioning units. At the West Hill School, there's flooring along the east entrance that's along the lockers that has to be replaced. The Griswold Middle School boilers are very antiquated. We need to replace those. Griswold Middle School, there's a problem with their air conditioning system. We need to balance that out. And again, as you know, the Stevens School sprinkler system design will be coming up. Griswold Middle is also looking for additional parking, so we'll be working up a site plan for that. Also at the Griswold Middle School, they are currently using aluminum bleachers, which when they are extended out, extend past the foul line into the area where they play basketball, which is a danger. So the principal's asked us to look at replacing them with bleachers that will fold up. So we're working on getting an idea of what that would cost. They're also saying that the skylights at that Griswold Middle School leak or don't really do the job they're supposed to, so they're asking us to replace those. So that's the list that we're working on with the Board of Ed. Currently, our pending project list consists of the Academy Hall masonry piers and footing repairs. That's already in the capital budget. As you can see, that building's pretty old, so we need to do something to make sure that the floor is held up. We've also done an underground storage tank inventory, and we need to register those tanks with the Connecticut DEP. That's underway. We're also, as Lisa indicated, developing the computerized work order system, which is cloud-based, so that we don't have to have any servers here. And if anything needs updating, they take care of the whole thing. So that we can do the reporting that's absolutely necessary to figure out where all the work is going. One of the other problems with this building is at the valleys where the roofs meet, the water, when it rains, goes shooting down those valleys, and it's like a little Niagara Falls at the end, and goes shooting across the edge, so never even gets into the gutter. So we're going to get some deflectors put up there to make sure that the water is spread out over the roof. Again, I mentioned the impound area. For the school buildings, of course, we're working on the high school renovation project. West Hill sprinklers, the intercom systems, which will be coming in, And the modular classrooms for West Hill and Stevens will be involved with that one, as well as the upgrades for the bathrooms at Stevens. And this last one is the roof drains at Griswold Middle. What happens there is because of the way that roof is constructed, we need to remove snow. Otherwise, the loading would be too much for that roof. And there's roof drains. When they go up to remove the snow, they've been clipping those drains and breaking them. So what we wanted to do is replace the broken ones and put on markers so they'll know exactly where those drains are. So that's still a pending project. So at this point, I'll stop and say thank you for having us here and answer any questions, and then Steve will take over for the engineering portion of Public Works. Kathy?
Yeah, Jim, thank you very much for this. I learned a lot. I have two questions on the resurfacing the gym floors at Griswold and at the high school. I thought we just put in a new floor because we had that issue with the water, and then same thing at the high school, we just did the new
Right.
floor.
The product that's being used there, it has to be reapplied, so it was just a resurfacing. It was just another paint to prevent the markings underneath that, or, you
How
know, the
often
foul
do we
lines.
do that?
So it has to be done every 2 years.
Every 2 years it's
Yeah.
done?
They're
Wow.
using a water-based product. It's not the old varnish floors and the shellac floors that we used to have when we went to school. So it doesn't hold up as well, but because of health issues, that's what's being used.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Steps?
Mr. Salmi, I hate to ask you for additional information because you did a thorough job here for us, and I appreciate it. Since I've been around for such a long time, some things I have to question. And the tank from the police department, I remember during the renovation of the police department, which I believe was to the tune of $4.5 million, I think we stumbled across the tank in the parking lot and thought that tank was removed.
This is along the back of the building. It's not in the parking lot. This is where the generator is.
So I don't have to ask the question in the future. If we can go back to the latest activity that took place at these buildings and found out if we paid to have the tank removed, and now we're discovering 10, 12 years later the tank is still on the ground, you know, we should just look for that type of stuff. And I could be completely wrong, but I thought for sure that we removed these tanks.
Would have
And
been a good idea at the time, but I think this, there is a tank that services, believe it or not, the hot water system for the police department. Is an oil-fired tank. So what we want to do is pull this tank out and put a natural gas hot water tank in. So this is actually, and it probably has 1,000 gallons in it, and that could heat a lot of water. So it was a piece of the old police department that was left over for reasons I can't answer.
Yeah.
But it is a steel tank, and it has to be removed.
Okay.
Counselor Moriarty?
I think the tank you're referring to, Frank, was an oil tank that was in the lot when they put the addition on. Ellie says that's a water tank over there on the side.
That makes sense.
Wasn't that tank in the garage or something? I thought it was near the garages or something.
It's
like
when they put that Sally port on the back. It was an old, when they switched over to.
You all set, Tim? Counselor Casasanti?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. For a new council here in Rocky Hill, it was very beneficial. I do have a few questions. On your presentation, there are several big capital improvement items listed. You're talking removal of tanks, roofs, various others that I won't repeat because it was just presented to us. In your budgetary preparations, in your capital improvement preparations, and I asked this of Dr. Zito as well, will you be prioritizing this for the council so that we can see individually where you think these items should be put on a capital improvement
Yes,
list if a capital
yes.
improvement plan was actually going forward?
The short answer is yes. We
Thank you.
will definitely give you priorities. Some items have to be done immediately, so those would be the highest priorities. And then others would be pushed off for as long as we think we can get away with it.
Okay. I see Dr. Zito. Hello.
Oh, how you doing?
Respond to your question. What we'll do, and Jim mentioned that we are conducting meetings and coming up with a comprehensive list. We're going to take that list to the Board of Education Facility Subcommittee, work with the board members on that committee to prioritize the list, bring that to the full board as part of its capital improvement plan. And as you know,
Sure.
even if facilities control switches over to the boards, capital projects must still be funded by the town money authority, the monetary authority, which is basically the town council. So it'll come to you in a prioritized fashion.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the council wishing, Councilman McDonald?
Yes, thank you. Jim, it's really remarkable, the improvements year-to-date for 2013, and I want to compliment you and your team and Lisa for really the oversight you guys have given, not only for the day-to-day activities, but when you really lay out the really capital improvements that have to get done. I mean, some of these things are shocking, right? I mean, really, these things are happening in our town? And I think really it shows the need for really active oversight, and, you know, I really appreciate everything you've done so far.
Well, we're trying to be proactive rather than reactive, and we have to bring these to you. Just as beginning of this year, we brought the road program to you. That's what we're going to do.
Right, great.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council wishing to speak? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to introduce Steve Sopelak, and he's going to do the engineering portion of this. The reason I thought it was important that you heard about the small engineering department is because we're going to have a big project, a $10 million road referendum, and he'll give you some more details. Thank you.
Good evening. As Jim said, I'm Steve Soplak. I'm with the engineering department. Waiting for Jim to get on the clicker. All right, and Jim too did come up with a mission statement for our department. It's to provide professional municipal engineering services for all town departments as well as the Board of Education, including the design, review, permitting, and inspection of public works projects. And it's also to provide, review, and it should say inspection of private development projects, ensuring consistency with the town of Rocky Hill technical design standards, ordinances, as well as other applicable regulations and policies. Staffing, you're going to see some overlap with the staffing. Engineering falls under public works. So we start at the top with Jim, who also acts as the town engineer. I would be the project engineer. My role is to do the majority of the design and plan review. I also do inspections. We have an engineering technician it's Bob Alvarado. Most of you know him. He acts as our wetlands agent, and he also performs inspections, reviews, and so forth. The part-time inspector is Gene Salvatore, who Jim mentioned earlier. He doubles up. He's also out on the road for us doing inspections. And then we have one secretary we share with the Planning and Zoning Department. This is kind of accomplishments and also what we do rolled into one. First and foremost, we interact with the public, whether it be at our counter or via phone. And if we get a phone call or somebody comes to the counter and we can't answer the question and they have a concern, we'll make a field visit. We'll go see what their problem is. If their issue is within our town right-of-way or a town easement and there's an actual problem, the engineering department will design a solution. We'll work with the appropriate department, whether it be highways, parks and rec, to remedy the problem. If it's on private property, we'll offer some solutions, but we don't do work on private property. Otherwise we'll be in everybody's backyard fixing a drainage problem, and it's just not cost effective. Public meetings. We attend public meetings. You recall just in the spring, we were before a majority of you seeking $20 million for a road referendum. You folks recommended $10 million, which, as you know, passed. We staff and attend our wetlands meetings, staff and attend town council and subcommittee meetings, and we're a member of the Capital Region Council of Governments Regional Planning Agency. So either Jim or I attend their transportation subcommittee meetings. They're usually monthly. I don't believe they hold them in the summers. We coordinate and offer assistance to all other town departments: town manager, parks and rec, economic development, planning and zoning, board of ed, fire and police departments, the library, and one not listed here because it falls under Jim's facilities. We also coordinate with state regulatory agencies such as the DEOT, DEEP, the aforementioned CROG, Providence and Worcester Railroad, who leases the rail line from the state of Connecticut here in town, and all public utilities that work in town here or provide services to the residents. One of my main things I do is the design work and actual engineering work. We'll design, we'll survey, we'll stake out, we'll work with the highway department on construction projects. A couple of things we've done this year, Laurel Road and Esther Road, two kind of unique projects. We had developers working at Laurel Road. The last about 400 feet was almost impassable. This is where C. White is, the oil company. And private developer came in, took over the building across the street from them, and they were doing work. They were responsible for the last 200 feet of our road because they were actually going to put some parking. Their existing parking was in our right-of-way. They were rebuilding it, so we made them square up the last 200 feet of road. So we went, and the first 200 feet, which was basically impassable, we surveyed, designed, worked with the highway department, stripped out what was there. The highway department graded it, and then the private developer's contractor paved the whole thing in one shot so we wouldn't have a joint. Esther Road, similar. It was a road that served one house, subdivision. There's now 4 houses at the end. That developer was responsible to come about 300 feet up Esther Road. There's about 400 feet more to do. Again, we went out, surveyed, designed, staked out. Highway department went out there, ripped out what was there, graded, and because of coordination with the developer, he couldn't get his paver back the same time that we needed it paved. So actually our highway department ended up paving our portion. Otherwise it would have been the same thing with some cost sharing, and we would have had his contractor pave the whole road so we wouldn't have that joint that is there. Dividend Pond parking lot. We've designed a parking lot for the Dividend Pond Park. That construction is pending. Jim mentioned the diesel tank at the fire headquarters. We did the site plan, took it through planning and zoning, got all the necessary approvals. And then, some of you might have been out to Dividend Park at the end of Pleasant Valley Drive. There's a new bridge that the Parks Department installed. It's about 30 feet long. We worked with we found the manufacturer out of Minnesota and worked with them via email, providing specifications, surveys, and that kind of data, so he could fabricate the bridge. It was shipped here, and the Parks Department installed it. Plan review, another big thing we do. Whenever somebody comes in for a subdivision, a new building, even a house, we review the plans to make sure they meet town specs. A couple of the bigger ones this year have been the high school. There was about 40 pages of plans we had to review for that. Rather than write up a big, thick report, what we find more effective is we call in the architect, we call in their engineers and their other professional staff. We sit down and have meetings. We had about 3 meetings with them to hammer out all the details on those on those 40 pages till it got to, I believe, what was presented to you folks. Foundry, another big one. Same kind of process. Met with the engineer a number of times on site and in our office on ways to improve his plan. One that's coming in now, Oleski Farms Estates, and then there's numerous other smaller single lot houses. Something we do yearly, we administer the contract and inspect our sidewalk construction and repair contract. We usually spend about $100,000 a year in sidewalk repairs and or installation of new sidewalks. Our focus the last bunch of years was removing the bituminous asphalt sidewalks and replacement with concrete. Another item that we do annually is the pavement marking, and that we we piggyback off the CROG bid. CROG goes to bid for this, and we piggyback off of that, hire the contractor, inspect his work, make sure we're getting what we paid for. If he missed spots, he's got to go back, and then we review his bill and okay it. And then lastly, new this year, the old Main Street Bridge. It's past its useful life and functional, what am I looking for, Jim? Functional, it's functionally obsolete and structurally deficient is the buzzwords. That bridge is about 80 years old. The contractor we have doing the design, we've had a couple contractors. We did a repair about 5 years ago just to get it to hold together for about 5 to 10 years, but it's obsolete. So that the first contractor in is that contractor cannot find plans at the DOT. We have no plans. It's that old. That hopefully is going to bid this spring. So we're working with that consultant, reviewing his plans. We actually just got drainage computations in today, and the first set of preliminary plans are coming in on Friday. So we'll be reviewing those. In-house. You skipped ahead. Inspections. Another big portion of our job. That's a lot of the stuff that Gene, our part-time guy, will go out and do. Bob, myself, a little less. We inspect all public improvements within our right-of-ways. This year, we mentioned Laurel and Esther Road. The dams, we have 2 dams that we own, Dividend Pond Dam and the Rose Hill Dam. Those have to be inspected biannually. The DEEP was inspecting Dividend Pond. They've done away with all inspections, budget cuts, so it's now on us to inspect that dam. We got them to do one last inspection this fall. We're waiting for the report, but we've worked with Lisa and Walt from Parks, and they've already started some of their recommendations. We've inspected the final phases of Kroll Farms. A few folks know that they did the final paving over there. The first phase of Larry Farms, which is off of Brook Street, inspected they have the first phase of the road, the first half done on binder, first list of pavement. On Brook Street, there's apartments called the Enclave, all public improvements within the right-of-ways. Completion of the Silas Deane Highway streetscape, there were some punch list items, there were some dead shrubs, a couple other minor items with sprinklers and lights, so we had to have the contractor come back, finish that up. And then street excavation permits. Every year we get a couple hundred. Last I checked, it was 213 as of Friday, and there'll be a few more before the end of the year. So we inspect all those cuts, make sure that the repairs are done in accordance with our standards. For 2014, in general, we're going to keep up with our public, addressing the public concerns and questions, keep on attending the public meetings, doing our plan reviews, and continue working with our fellow departments and Board of Ed. In-house, a couple items. Our GIS, we've converted over to something called People GIS. That's something that Stuart did. And one of the things it has is the ability to create forms and basically data collection. And that's something we're looking to implement for our infrastructure asset management. We have to report all our assets, whether it be roads, catch basins, signs, anything that we own in the public right away, we have to report. Right now, they're kept on various spreadsheets. We like to migrate that all to one central location. And the nice thing about that is it ties to the GIS, so we could say, what catch basins did we replace this year? Well, we did 50, and boom, you could pop up on a screen and show a dot for each one in what location of town. We want to update our sidewalk specifications. There's a couple little tweaks. As you know, we're using a lot more salts now, less sand. So we've added a requirement for sealing the sidewalks to try and add some years to the life. And update our street permit manual, which was written in 1968. design and inspection projects. We're gonna have another sidewalk project, as we talked about, coming up this spring. And the pavement marking, of course, again. The Rocky Hill Police Department impound lot, we've been working with Lieutenant Klett on his vision for the impound lot. We have a preliminary plan. We'll finalize that, bring it through planning and zoning, and hopefully find the funding to get that going. We haven't been asked yet, but in the past, we've done the site plans for the portable classrooms. We've done 2 site plans already for Stevens School for portable classrooms in the last few years. And we're thinking that they're gonna ask us to do both schools. As Jim said, Griswold Middle School needs a parking lot expansion, so we need to get out and survey that and come up with a design where we're gonna put the extra parking. And any other requests from departments as they come in, we'll do those designs. The major inspections are gonna be O'Leary Farms as that progresses, and other projects that may start in town that work is within our right-of-ways. And street excavation permits, as I said, we get about 200 a year. In Rocky Hill High School, we won't be inspecting the work, but if it's within the town right-of-way, Sam Bailey Road, Parsonage, or the road leading in, which is Griswold, we'll be inspecting that work. The major projects for this year, take the bottom one first, is that old Main Street Bridge, as I said. That's out for design right now. We just got the drainage reports in, and we're waiting for the first preliminary design. It's coming in this week. We'll be reviewing that. That is scheduled to go to bid this spring. So part of our job will be to oversee the consultant. They'll be the inspector on site, but we'll be overseeing them. We'll be processing the paperwork, okaying their bills, and we'll be reporting to government ops and the town council on the progress. And then the big one is the referendum, the $10 million road referendum. Councilor DePro was nice enough to provide us with a spreadsheet that we're going to start using. We're going to try and do $2 million worth of work a year. And what we find is if we go out and we do right now we're meeting with different vendors. We have a couple meetings set up this week. We met with a couple others. And we're trying to find the right solutions for right roads at the right time, as we explained to you before. And if we come in and we say we're going to spend $2 million and it comes in at, say, 1.5, rather than saying, okay, that's it for the year, we want to stretch that out as much as we can this year, because the prices next year will probably be higher than what they are this year. So we want to get as much done as we can, up front. As I said, we're meeting with different contractors. Another thing we want to do is I'm on a listserv through UConn, so I can reach out to all different public works directors, engineers throughout the state, put out all these different processes. There's 14 different options that we have for treatments of roads. We're considering about 5 or 6 of them. So put out some of these newer methods that we're not familiar with and get feedback from the engineering community, the public works community, see what works, what doesn't work, pluses and minuses. We're also going to engage the services of a consultant to just basically consult on what they might think is the right treatment. We might pick a treatment. The consultant who does this on a daily basis might have a different idea, versus what a salesman's going to also tell you. Part of the process will be bidding. Some of these processes have state bids through the Department of Administrative Services. Some don't. There's one process out there that the town of Windsor, or South Windsor, is going to bid on this spring. So we can always piggyback on that, or we could write our own spec and bid and go to bid. It's easier to use in other towns, and that's permitted. And once we get rolling on that, there's going to be lots of inspection. We're going to have a lot of work going on. I'll be out inspecting. Bob will be out inspecting. Gene will be out inspecting. We'll be managing the contract, we'll be reviewing the bills, paying the bills, measuring everything, make sure we're getting what we paid for, and of course, reporting back to government ops and the town council. Any questions?
Anyone from the council? Council Moriarty?
You go to do the bridge on Old Main Street there. Are you gonna shut the road right down?
Yes, the bridge will come right out.
Now, has there been any discussion in making that where the deck and parapets are precast, so it'll be faster, so the amount of time being shut down won't be as long, as opposed to cast-in-place concrete?
That's basically what they're coming in with, is a, correct? Precast? Yeah, precast.
Precast only for the deck, correct? The rest of your abutments will be,
Well, they're gonna have to
Cast in
put
place.
pilings in.
right, you don't have to dry piles.
They have to drive piles and then pour the abutments
Footing,
on that.
right.
They're gonna retain, we haven't seen the preliminary plans, but the preliminary idea, hold on. Can you flip that?
Because there's still a tide in there, isn't there, correct? Through there? The tide comes all the way up through there.
Is this working?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a rendering that they brought in. This is the existing, what will be the existing bridge. The plan is to cut this off.
Yeah.
So we can still have, we'll still have our flow, but we're gonna open it up here, so it'll be greater capacity, because right now, I haven't reviewed the report that just came in, but I think we're a little shy on capacity going onto this bridge. So by opening this up, there's more capacity for water to get through, and then this will be all, there'll be piles driven on each side, and this will be precast, this deck portion.
They will be having a public information meeting just before your council meeting in
Okay.
January 21st, I believe.
Now,
They'll
precast,
be here to
precast way to
answer.
go, it's less time, the road's down. Now, there's no utilities running under there, is there?
No.
No?
There is a buried, I believe it's water line. It's at the end of the wing walls. It won't be affected. And then along the railroad tracks, there's a gas line. And then the Buckeye pipeline also runs, but it does not affect the bridge.
What's that? Town Manager Gilbert?
Just to give a little bit of historical perspective, this is a bridge that was built by the WPA. It was a state bridge for many, many years, and about 15 years ago, the state changed its width requirements, and it falls 1 foot shy of what the state maintains now, and it's now become the town's responsibility. It looks shiny and new when you drive down there, but basically it had a facelift to buy us time. It's bought us 5 years, and now it's time that we do something with it.
Yeah, to expand upon that, the state will inspect a bridge 20 feet, a span that's 20 feet or greater. That bridge is about 19 feet. The proposed bridge span, I think, is 34. So it will fall under their inspection.
Anyone else from the council?
Give it back to them.
Seems like it'd be cheaper to just add another foot on. Thank you for your presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Cut a foot off the tape, even cheaper.
Right. Bury the foot.
Cut a foot.